second part of our series, as we always do. The second part has to do with day by day, what is happening. I go through newspapers or I go through all kind of internet sites where I find different articles about what's happening. One of the major ones that I go to is Amir Sarfati, and find articles that have to do with the soon coming of the Lord. In other words, those are signs of the soon return. And so we start with Thursday, the 1st of February 2024. This is a billboard in Benoni, Gutenet, in South Africa. And it says, Islam, no God but Allah. And then on the side it says that Jesus supposedly said that Allah is my Lord, and that he said, I am his servant. Of course, we know that those are lies. Those might be sayings from their book, the Quran, but it certainly is a lie, because Jesus said, I am, as God did in the beginning, in the book of Exodus. Remember that? I am. And Jesus said, I am. So we know who Jesus is. And many, over and over times, Jesus announces that he is as God and is God. And so he is God in the flesh. Then there's the Heavenly Father. He is in the Spirit. He's not in the flesh. And then there's the Holy Spirit. So that's where we get the Trinity from that we believe in. And so of course we know that Jesus never said that Allah is my God and that I'm serving Allah. That is a pure lie from South African Muslims. Let's go on to the next one here. At 4 p.m., February 2nd, U.S. Central Command forces conducted airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps force and affiliated militia groups. U.S. military forces struck more than 85 targets with numerous aircraft, to include long-range bombers flown from the United States. The airstrikes employed more than 125 precision munitions. The facilities that were there were hit. And so that's an interesting account, that for the first time we really see that the U.S. started to really start a massive attack on the different Muslim areas that attacked not only Israel, but also attack the U.S. outposts that are stationed in Iraq and Syria. Let's go on to Saturday, the 3rd of February. The Houthis are again threatening to cut off the fiber optic cable running along the bottom of the Red Sea if the US and UK hit Yemeni airports again. You see all those blue lines, those are all ships that were hit, and most of them made it okay, some of them not. Some of them had to be abandoned, so I don't know, I didn't hear anything after that anymore. But obviously the Houthis have a certain amount of power with those cables. And in fact, this morning I was listening, or was it last night, and they were talking about that they actually cut one of those cables, the connection between all of Africa and all of the Arab countries. That fiber optic is now disconnected. It'll take 8 weeks before it is fixed. And so I'm not sure how they're going to bridge that in the meantime. You know, that was between Africa and Arab countries. There are a lot more important ones that run down there in that area. And so that is certainly a dangerous situation. Let's go on to Sunday, the 4th of February. Anti-Semitism in the Netherlands. You can see the swastika there. It was sprayed on the door in the front of the synagogue in the city of Middelburg. It's vandalism, but with a malicious twist, said a police spokesman. Doesn't that remind you of the Nazi time? Because that's exactly what happened in the Nazi time in Germany and all over Europe. That they painted at that time, I don't guess they had no spray then, they painted the swastika on all the Jewish synagogues and homes. And it's amazing how we see those same things again coming. On the same day, I found this article. During October 7th, Hamas booby-trapped victims' bodies in an attempt to kill anyone attending to them. Soldiers described the piles of bodies they confronted at the Shura camp, hundreds piled up on top of each other. The halls were lined to the ceiling with body bags. The smell was unimaginable. I can't tell you the shock and despair that struck all of us. And so Hamas came in there, slaughtered people, but then not only slaughtered people and cut them up and burned them, but then put those booby traps on them. So if anyone comes to take that dead body away, he blows up. It's incredible, the wickedness and sinfulness of Hamas. We go on to Monday the 5th. In case you wonder why civilians in Gaza were lynching Israeli hostages who take back to Gaza on October 7th. Palestinian children from UNRWA schools have for years participated in summer terror training camps at Hamas bases. UNRWA aids in the indoctrination. So they have those summer school, and they invite all the young people from Gaza, all the Palestinian kids, and they come because they have a great time. They learn how to shoot, but they also learn how to hate Israelis. And they are told that Israelis are at fault for everything, and so they need to be killed. And those little kids, especially boys, are ready for the next generation to kill Israelis, because that's what they were told by Hamas. And it's where? In UNRWA, in the UN building. The UN. They were part of it. That arm of UN, the UNRWA, were part of all of this stuff that went on in Gaza and in preparation for the war that is going on right now. Amazing, isn't it? Tuesday the 6th of February. A British cargo ship was hit by the Houthis in the Red Sea. For now, only minor damages was reported, no injuries. So again and again, even though the Americans and the English and French, they're there, and other ships too, and rockets go out and take out those where the rockets, the launching pads, but it's just not enough. There's so much more that has to be taken out. A whole infrastructure of military needs to be taken out, and that has not happened yet. We go on to Wednesday the 7th of February. Representative Ilhan Omar declares herself Somali first, Muslim second, America last. Really? She's a representative of us? No, I don't think so. She represents Somali first, Muslim second, America last. Unbelievable. And she states it. She's proud of it. What's going on? What is going wrong in America? Another one from that day, very interesting. The president of Argentina, Javier Milei, bursts into tears with excitement during his Thanksgiving prayer at the Western Wall. The Argentine embassy, which is also moving to the capital of Jerusalem, adds an important specific weight to the diplomatic missions there. So there's a new man in Argentina, a president, Javier, and he loves the Jews, and he is supporting of the Jews, and he brings the embassy back to Jerusalem. And of course the Israelis are so happy about that, because that's exactly what they want. More nations acknowledging that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. And of course the Muslims are trying to stop that wherever they can. But the truth is that Jerusalem in the Bible is called the eternal city. And it is certainly the capital city of Israel. No question about it. Let's come back to America. Thursday the 8th. Oakland, California. In broad daylight, the police outside are useless. So the police is standing outside this shop, and those thieves come inside, steal the stuff, run back out, no one stops them, they get away with literally murder. They just get away with all the stuff, all the money, everything they stole inside that shop. And it happens again and again and again. Again, I'm asking, what is wrong with America? That is not right, that's not normal, and yet it's happening, especially over on the West Coast, again and again. This one here is reported from Oakland. Let's go now to Friday the 9th. We are back in Israel and Gaza. An unusual attack on Israel's northern city of Kiryat Shimona. Casualties are reported. The situation on the border with Lebanon is about to explode. So there is actually a second war starting up against Hezbollah. Hezbollah, the word means the party of Allah. They are where? In Lebanon, in the north of Israel. And they keep shooting into Israel, and Israel is shooting back. And so this is going back and forth and back and forth. And what is important there, it is increasing and more and harder. And so that might very well lead to that next war that Israel is facing. And they're not even finished in the south yet, in Gaza. And they're already now starting in the north more and more. So we need to really pray for Israel. There's more trouble coming, unfortunately. On the same day, Germany joins the war against the Houthis. The German frigate Hessen, equipped with advanced air defense systems, sailed to the Red Sea today and is expected to take part in the defense effort against the threat of the Houthis. So more and more nations are joining in against those Houthis that are just financed by Iran, and Iran brings them all the weapons and installs all the systems, and they're just pawns. They're just being used by Iran so that they can shoot their rockets on the ships that are trying to get through the not Suez Canal, it's the Suez Canal that goes down to Egypt and out into the Mediterranean Ocean. And so most ships have stopped going through there, which is an incredible financial burden for the Egyptians, because they get money, I mean a lot of money, for every ship that comes through the Suez Canal. Let's go on to Saturday the 10th of February. A magnitude 6.3 earthquake has just rocked Hawaii's Big Island, just miles from multiple active volcanoes. Locals are reporting that it was the longest, strongest earthquake they felt in a long time. It's unclear at this time if any eruption is imminent. So once again they are hit. They had that tremendous fire there not too long ago. Now it's a big earthquake, and I haven't heard anything since the 10th, so I guess it wasn't too severe on the destruction. But we see this popping up again and again, and fairly strong all over the world. Over half, on the same day, over half of Hamas fighters are incapacitated, and its leaders are on the run. Hamas end seems to be near. So the Hamas fighters, many of them, over half of them, are captured or dead, and they know the end is near. So more and more come out with their hands up, giving up, because they know if they don't, they're going to be dead, and so they'd rather be in Israeli prison than dead. And so there is a little clip I want you to see. So let's go ahead and watch that.
The IDF is moving toward victory in the war in Gaza. Israeli leaders claimed that at least half of the Hamas fighters had been killed or seriously injured. Prime Minister Netanyahu said the IDF is months and not years away from destroying Hamas, and Defense Minister Gallant said that Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar is on the run. And now TV's Steve Leibovich has more.
Day 123 of the war in Gaza, and Israel's leaders, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant, say that the end of the nearly 4-month war was a matter of months and not years, with the fighting set to spread now toward the remaining Hamas brigades in Rafiah on the southern border with Egypt. Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed that Israel would settle only for a complete victory and looks to complete the offensive by pushing into the southern city of Rafiah. That victory would also send a message to all of Israel's enemies.
עכשיו, הניצחון המוחלט הוא חיוני משום שהוא מבטיח את ביטחון ישראל. ניצחון מוחלט זה הדרך היחידה שבה נוכל להבטיח עוד הסכמי שלום היסטוריים שעומדים בפתח, וניצחון מוחלט ינחית את המכה האנושה על ציר הרשע של איראן, חיזבאללה, חות'ים וכמובן החמאס. ולכן אין תחליף לניצחון המוחלט, וצריך רק לחשוב מה קורה אם לא יהיה ניצחון מוחלט. המפונים לא יחזרו, הטבח הבא זה רק עניין של זמן, ואיראן והחיזבאללה והאחרים פשוט יחגגו כאן וימוטטו את המזרח התיכון. ולכן אין תחליף לניצחון המוחלט.
Defense Minister Gallant said that the Gaza terror group's leader, Yahya Sinwar, was on the run, out of touch with his fighters, and forced to flee from one hideout to another, with the IDF hot on his heels. He also made clear that the next target is Rafiah.
אנו ממשיכים בפעולה זו, ונגיע גם אל המקומות בהם טרם לחמנו, במרכז הרצועה ובדרומה, ובמיוחד אל מרכז הכובד האחרון שנותר בידי חמאס, רפיח.
Israel's leaders both claim that at least half of Hamas's fighters have been killed or seriously injured. The defense minister said that the remaining terrorists have a choice, either surrender or die.
ידע כל מחבל המסתתר ברפיח, כי סופו יהיה כמו של אלו בח'אן יונס, בעזה או בכל מקום אחר ברצועת עזה. כניעה או מוות. אין אפשרות שלישית.
Amazing, isn't it? We're going on to Sunday, the 11th of February. The European Union attempt to impose sanctions against Israeli residents of Judea and Samaria was blocked by Hungary and the Czech Republic. There are two nations that are much more pro-Israeli than the rest of the European Union, and so they did not get their way with those sanctions against what? Judea and Samaria. Really? Judea and Samaria, yes, of course they call it the West Bank. But that's what it is. It's Judea and Samaria. And it belongs to Israel, given by whom? By God Himself. Don't they realize that? I guess not. Here's another one. The IDF uncovers a massive Hamas tunnel running underneath the UN UNRWA's main headquarters in Gaza. The vast terrorist infrastructure inside the tunnel ran on electricity supplied by who? The UN, the UNRWA headquarters. Let's go ahead and watch that briefly.
Guys!
Want every international organization to work in Gaza. They're not our problem. Our problem is the Hamas. Is the Hamas working in the UNRWA and under the UNRWA. We'll show you now what we found for the last 2 weeks that we're here. 20 meters above us is the UNRWA headquarters. This is the electricity room. You can see all around here the batteries, the electricity walls. Everything is conducted from here. All the energy for the tunnels, which you walk through them, are powered from here.
We are going on. The President Biden emphasizes in the 45-minute long phone conversation that the operation in Rafah should be done after careful preparation of a plan that will take care of the citizens in the area. In other words, he did not veto it, but he said you got to, don't kill any innocent, and when I say innocent, I mean quote innocent, because who are they? Who are all of the citizens of Gaza? Well, they are the parents of Hamas, right? They trained them to be like that. And so anyways, so Israel is careful. They are trying to avoid that any of the citizens are harmed, but it's war, and war is horrible, and innocent people do die, if you can even call them innocent. Let's go on to Monday the 11th of February. A joint operation by the IDF, the Shin Bet, and the Israeli police in Rafah. 2 Israeli hostages, Fernando Simon Marman and Louis Har, who were kidnapped by Hamas to the Gaza Strip from Nitzjirak in 7/10, they were freed. They were freed by Israel. They found them and they freed them. So, a little bit of good news here, because so much is bad news, but here's some good news. 2 of the prisoners, one of them 70 years old, freed. We go on. Satanic pressure from around the world will mount in the next few days to not allow Israel to enter Rafah. Satan wants Hamas to survive. We won't allow that, even if it's going against the whole world. Only complete victory. So what we hear is all over the world, don't go into Rafah, don't go into Rafah. This is the last stronghold of Hamas on the south, against the border of Egypt, all the way down there. That's where they are now together. All of the leadership of Hamas, and also about 100 of the people that were captured. They're all down there, and they're saying to Israel, don't go there. Are you kidding? Of course they're going to go there. They have to go there, even if the whole world, under this satanic pressure, tells them not to do it. It's amazing, isn't it? We're going on to Tuesday the 13th. The pro-Hamas group on campus at Columbia University in New York are getting bolder, and their rhetoric is becoming more violent. Here they are shouting that they reject a 2-state solution. They want all of it. You know who else rejects a 2-state solution and wants all of it? Hamas. And so that's what they are up to at the Columbia University. And so what is that? What does that mean? That means they want all Israelis to either be killed or have to disappear somewhere else. Just go to other countries or whatever you want to do, but all of Israel should be given to Hamas. Really? Are you kidding? That's ridiculous. And yet American students are asking for it, are yelling that that will happen. Of course, it will not. We go on to Wednesday the 14th of February. This is the location of the blast that damaged Iran's main and super important gas pipeline. You might have remembered on the 14th, it was news in the news all over that there is a huge gas line right there in the middle, as you can see on the picture, right in the middle of the country. And it exploded, and it was a huge explosion. And of course, now there is no gas for all those places and cities that it was supplying. It'll take a long time for that to be repaired. And of course, we kind of think that Israel is behind it. We don't know for sure, but it's quite possible. Or those Iranians that are against the regime in Iran, that could be also the case. Of course, we also know that they're very close to the atomic bomb, and that is a huge problem. We're going on to Thursday, the 15th of February. The forces of the 646th Brigade Combat Team eliminated a terrorist who fired an RPG at our forces from a building in Khan Yunis yesterday. So they were eliminated with a big bang. And so, as so many others before them, they are gone. Friday, the 16th of February, that was big news too. Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader, has died in prison according to Russian media outlets. So this guy was running for president. He got arrested because, of course, Putin doesn't want anyone else beside him who talks against him to run. And he was talking very straightforward what's happening and the corruption that's going on. They arrested him, they put him into prison, and now they killed him. And of course, Putin denies it, and it was just a sudden death. It just happened. Right. We know the truth, don't we? And so that's going on. That's the kind of corruption that's going on in Russia today. On the same day, we have this report. The U.S. elementary public school in Shoreline, Washington, near Seattle, caught teaching 7-year-olds that Israel must be destroyed. What? Stand with us. That's the outfit of those people that say that. Says the Washington school instructed children to make anti-Israeli signs. No, they're against it. So I'm sorry. So Stand With Us is against what's happening there. And they found out about it. That the Washington school instructed children to make anti-Israeli signs and engage in a mock protest. The school engaged in indoctrination, promoted hatred, and created a hostile classroom environment toward the Israeli and Jewish communities. That's incredible. That's like Hamas. And it's happening here in our elementary schools. Those kids that are so impressionable, that take it all in, and that's what they're taught. Unbelievable, but it's happening. We go on to Saturday the 17th of February. An expert in election data assessed that almost 35,000 Georgia voters in 2020 cast ballots from the wrong jurisdiction. 35,000. The same thing is going to happen again in 2024, was told to the Daily Signal. Oh great, they're gonna do the wrong thing again, huh? In 2020, Joe Biden carried the state over Donald Trump by 11,000 votes. That's very tiny. Willfully providing false information on a voter certificate is a felony under Georgian law, punishable by 10 years imprisonment and a $100,000 fine. And yet 35,000 did it. And yet Joe Biden only won by 11,000. Now you tell me if he should be president. How can we even allow something like that? Why wasn't that caught right away? So, it's amazing to me. I'm out of words. I'm speechless when I hear that. Well, let's go on to Sunday the 18th. There are 134 hostages, and on that particular day, Sunday the 18th, 134 days in captivity. The president of Israel revealed at the security conference in Munich the book, The End of the Jews, the guide for the destruction of the Jewish people, written by one of the founders of the terrorist organization Hamas. Muhammad al-Zahar was found in Gaza. So that is a book that was found in Gaza, how to end the Jews, how to kill them, how to get rid of them. So we know what it was all about. That was their plan. And the president of Israel, not the Prime Minister Netanyahu, but the president, holds up that book. Now this is an amazing story. It's about Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, a group of Nazis with the swastika walking through the streets. Is that even allowed? You could not do that in most countries in Europe. That's against the law. And yet here, the Nazis are walking through Nashville. Wow, that's amazing. We're going on to Monday the 19th. ISIS attacked army posts in Mozambique, and apart from looting and killing, they did what Hamas did as well, decapitating the soldiers. So they come in there, ISIS is still around, can you believe it? They come in, they kill, and cut off the heads and leave again. And then you see all their weapon deposits that they have there. Wars and rumors of wars, right? All around the world. This next report on the same day comes from the Antarctica. Iran continues to expand, and this time it plans to establish military and research bases in Antarctica. This after it annexed certain territories from the frozen continent on its own accord. What? They go to the Antarctica and they take a piece of land and say, this is ours now, and we're going to have a military base here. You see Iran? That's the kind of stuff Iran does. It's amazing. And I hope that they will not be allowed to do any of that. Let's go on to Tuesday the 20th of February. This comes from Amir Sarfati. Those who call us Nazis and compare the Gaza war to the Holocaust should pay attention to the tattoo on the arm of this dead Hamas terrorists. Not to mention the dozens of Hitler books translated in Arab were found all over the place. So they find this guy, and on his arm he has the swastika sign. Guess what? They want all Israelis dead. So if Israel is compared to the Nazis, it's really Hamas who needs to be compared, and they can prove it by those signs. Wednesday the 21st of February. 7.2 million illegals entered the United States under Biden's administration so far, an amount greater than the population of 36 states. And so altogether, it's already over 9 million illegals over the years that have come into the United States. Illegals. I mean, which part of illegal don't those people understand? It's puzzling to me. Now, legal immigrants, by all means, we can use them, and we need them, and we were legal immigrants, and then became American citizens eventually. But illegals, that's a different story. That should never happen. On the same day, the Swiss government has announced that it has decided to outlaw the activities of the terrorist organization Hamas. Well, it's about time, Swiss, that you do that and outlaw the terrorist organization. Thursday, the 22nd. What will deter the Houthis from attacking ships in the Red Sea? And there's a clip that I want you to watch right now.
With Iran reportedly instructing its proxies in Iraq to pause strikes on U.S. forces, its proxy in Yemen continues to operate in full force. A Greek-flagged U.S.-owned cargo ship came under 2 missile attacks in a span of 2 hours off the coast of southern Yemen on Monday. The strikes come hours after a Houthi missile strike damaged a Belize-flagged British-owned ship sailing off the Gulf of Aden, forcing the crew to abandon ship.
The naval forces of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a qualitative military operation targeting a British ship, Rubimar, in the Gulf of Aden, with a number of suitable naval missiles. The ship was severely hit and is now at risk of sinking.
In a separate incident, the Houthis claimed they shot down an American MQ-9 Reaper drone, something not immediately acknowledged by U.S. forces. But those affected by repeated attacks by the Iranian proxy in the Red Sea are not limited to Israel, the British, and Americans. The attacked British ship had been on its way to Bulgaria after leaving the United Arab Emirates, and the damages have been more dramatic to some than others.
Look at the situation today in the Suez Canal. It used to bring Egypt approximately $10 billion in annual revenue. This has declined by a rate of between 40% to 50%.
Meanwhile, in Brussels, the EU announced its plan to launch its own special naval mission to the Red Sea.
It's not just European ships that are repeatedly jeopardized by Houthi missiles in the Red Sea, but the entire international shipping industry, ships from Asia, ships from Africa, and it also affects the Gulf states in particular because their harbors can no longer be used. That's why it's important for us, the European Union, to make a contribution to the protection of civilian shipping in the Red Sea.
Let's go on to Friday the 23rd of February. Look what the Israeli paratroopers found in Khan Yunis in Gaza. Terror money is all over there. They say that they have nothing, but in reality it's because they are investing millions in terror. And so all those countries in the world send money to the poor Palestinians, and they are so poor. Well, no, because Hamas takes all that money and then they build those tunnels and they buy weapons, and the people get nothing. They already had received billions of dollars in different currencies from all over the world. They could have made the whole Gaza into a paradise with that money, with huge hotels along the ocean and people coming from all over the world and wanting to stay there in that beautiful part of the world. Well, it could have been. In reality, now it's a bombed out country, city after city, because they decided to go with Hamas instead. Terrible. We're going on to Saturday, the 24th of February. As a result of the Houthis' attack on the British ship Rabmar, an 18 million gallon oil slick was created in the ship. Also, the ship was carrying fertilizers that causes environmental damage at sea. So, okay, Houthis, you've done it. The first ship that actually loses oil, lots of it, 18 million gallons, thanks to them. And what happens to the environmentalists? How come the environmentalists are quiet? Why don't they say to the Houthis, you need to stop that? What's going on there? Very strange, isn't it? Let's go on to Sunday the 25th. Saudi Arabia detains a woman for displaying a Palestinian flag in front of Kaaba in Mecca. And so this woman has this flag, the police comes and takes it down and arrests the woman. So that shows us at least that Saudi Arabia is not totally behind this effort of Hamas. And so hopefully that is true. They were the ones before that were the most positive to Israel. And they were about to start to get into the Abraham Accord when all the war broke out. Then, of course, then that stopped. So hopefully at some point that will be restored. Here's an interesting report from Monday, the 26th of February. This is the pilgrimage road that connects the Pool of Solomon to the Temple Mount, and was the main thoroughfare of the city 2,000 years ago. So there was this road. It's called the Pilgrimage Road, but they discovered it a while ago. It's underneath the earth. So the homes of the Muslims are on top of this tunnel, and so they are tunneling, but they are putting all that steel in so that nothing is destroyed up on top. And they found that this is the road that went all the way up to the Temple Mount. And it's wide enough. There were shops all over left and right. And as they go through and discover it, and of course we know when it was destroyed, in the year 70 AD, when the Romans came and destroyed the Temple Mount and destroyed the whole city and burned it down, that was all covered up. And so it wasn't discovered until just a few years ago. And soon we will be actually allowed to walk on those streets, the streets that Jesus walked, and tens of thousands of pilgrims that went up to the Temple Mount. But here's what is so interesting, what they found. Look at this one. A rare and mysterious multi-compartment stone container dating back to the days of the Second Temple, 2,000 years ago, was found. So as they go through this tunnel, they found this. Now it was in pieces, but they were able to find all the pieces, put it back together. And so there are 9 compartments, and they call it the nut container or something like that. Why? Well, because it would have been a good one to put nuts, different nuts, and a shop would have had that there. People walked by, Jesus walked by this container, and maybe they even bought something out of this container, and they found it recently, just recently, and it's now displayed in a museum. So more and more and more evidence that the Bible is true, that the history that we believe happened there is true, even though the Muslims love to dispute it. Tuesday, the 27th of February, an archaeologist uncovered a small silver scroll, no bigger than the diameter of a quarter. That's how small the diameter was, tiny little roll. This was originally worn as an amulet around the neck, so on a necklace, and it's from 600 BC. When researchers from the Israeli Museum in Jerusalem unrolled the sheet of silver, they detected 12 tiny lines of the ancient Hebrew script inscribed on them, taken from Numbers 6:24 through 26, which are blessings, if you read that, blessings for the one who is wearing this. So somebody wrote this, and this thing is only like an inch or so long, and yet they were able to write in 12 lines on it, 12 lines. And on the right you see it unrolled. So of course when you unroll this old roll, it broke up, but it was readable, and they saw that it came from Numbers chapter 6, verse 24 through 26. And somebody wrote so small, so tiny, that you cannot read it just by looking at it with your eyes. You have to have a magnifying glass. So how in the world were they able to do it? I guess they had the first magnifying glasses where they were able to write down all those verses on this tiny little scroll of silver. And that was recently found. Where did it come from? 600 BC. That's the time of the kings. That's how far it goes back. The kings in Israel. And that's, for some reason, it got lost or buried, and now was found. And silver, of course, lasts. And so 2,600 years later, we can see Numbers 6:24 through 26. So if someone says, oh yeah, the Old Testament, that was just written, in Jesus' time or just before, baloney. We know that this is that old. Times of Kings. We're going on to Wednesday the 28th of February. Iran's special forces have carried out a cross-border raid into Pakistan, during which they killed Ismail Shah Baksh, a leader of a Jahish al-Adl, and a number of his supporters. So that's a group that is against Iran, and the tensions between the countries are far from over. So you got Pakistan, and right next to it is Iran. They butt together, and Pakistan and Iran do not get along. And so they actually keep shooting at each other. It's not a major war, but it's back and forth and back and forth. And so the Iranis went in there with their soldiers and killed one of the leaders of one of those groups that is doing that. Thursday the 29th of February, which is the last day of the year, of the month of February, which is a leap year. It's 2024, and Twitter X is filled with more Western Hitler admirers than in 1934. Jews around the world must start packing. Israel is your God-given home. And so there are Hitler admirers, if you can believe it, more today than in 1934. And so what happens because of that? Well, because of that, the Jews around the world are less and less welcomed. And so because of that, they are packing up and returning back to Israel from all over the world. It's happening constantly, already since years. But it will happen in a much greater way in the future, especially in the 7 years of tribulation. So that by the end of the tribulation, all the Jews are back in the land. That's what the Bible prophesies. And that's what will happen. And then at that time, as you know, the Jews, when Antichrist comes up and comes against the Jews, which will happen halfway through the tribulation, the Bible is clear about it, from Daniel chapter 9, they will start to flee to different places, like they will flee into the country of Jordan and find refuge there. They will find refuge all over in Israel, especially in Jerusalem. Because remember, when Jesus comes back, he will come to Jerusalem. I believe he'll come through the Golden Gate. I think he'll ride with his white horse through the Golden Gate, and he will come to the Jews, and he will free them, and they will see him, the Bible says, with his wounds, and realize that it is Jesus, and they will repent, and they mourn. And I believe with all my heart that they will be part of the group that will be in heaven. We will see them, we'll get to know them. And so that's what's ahead of us. We are not that far away. We already have an increase of people who hate Israel around the world. We have a lot of people that are Hitler admirers. They say, oh yeah, Hitler was great, but you know, he didn't finish the job, and we will finish the job. That's in the mind of some people, a lot of people. And we see that in our days, in our generation. So how far are we from the end of the way things are going until the rapture, and then the 7 years, and then the second coming of Christ? I believe we're close. We cannot set day or hour. We don't even know the week, month, or year. But what we do know is that those are the very signs the Bible describes before the coming of the Lord. All those things that we talked about, the earthquakes and the hatred and the wars and the rumors of wars, all of those things point, the godlessness that we are experiencing, especially in America, where so many churches are shutting down, shutting their doors. Why? Because no one is interested anymore. Very few, I should say. Thank the Lord you are, and I am. We love Jesus, and we're looking forward to what he has for us, because the Bible says when those things happen, look up, your redemption is drawing near. So we're looking up and say, Jesus, we're ready. Come. Come for us. Because we are so sick and tired of the sinfulness of this world and our own sinfulness. And that will all be gone. Satan will be chained and then put into hell. The sin nature that we have will not be anymore part of us. When at the rapture we are changed into beings that are not flesh and blood, but that are spiritual, we will be with the Lord forevermore. We can't even imagine what it will be like. It'll be victorious. We will worship God. We will fellowship with each other. We will have work to do that God has for us. What exactly and how that will work, I don't know. But it will be perfect. We will not be tired or tired of work or whatever the Lord has us to do. We will never tire of it. And so that's good news. That's wonderful news. To be with Jesus, to see him and God on the throne. Wow. Glorious. Wonderful. Thank you for watching. The Lord bless you. And we have our next and final Monday Night in Prophecy on April the 1st. Unfortunately, that is Easter Monday. And so I don't know how many of you will be able to come on live, but that's okay because it's on YouTube and it'll stay on YouTube and you can watch it whenever you get to it. But it will be our final program. After 20 years, the Lord has prompted me to bring this to an end. Now, I would love for somebody else to step in and take over and continue on. I haven't found anybody. Maybe you know somebody and can get in touch with me and let me know that there's somebody available. But anyways, until this next meeting, April 1st, and this is not an April Fool's Day joke. That will be our final program Monday night in prophecy. Lord bless you. Thank you for watching.